In a bustling Caribbean market, Make Lie, known for his thefts and smooth talking, discusses his ill-gotten mangoes with a vendor. Make Lie, you're a sly one, the market vendor chuckled, eyeing the basket of luscious fruits. How do you always manage to get your hands on the sweetest mangoes? Make Lie flashed a grin, showing off his perfect white teeth. Ah, it's all in the timing, he replied, his deep voice carrying over the bustling market. You know how it is, my friend. Some fruits just fall into your lap. The vendor chuckled again, slapping him on the back. You always have an answer for everything, don't you? Make Lie winked. It's a gift. The Caribbean sun blazed overhead, casting vibrant shadows across the cobblestone streets. Make Lie strolled through the crowded stalls with the confidence of a man who knew every face and every secret. The market was alive with the chatter of locals and the occasional squawk of a parrot perched on a nearby stall. Colorful fabrics fluttered in the breeze, and the mouth-watering scent of jerk chicken filled the air. His tall, lean figure was a familiar sight, his skin as brown and warm as the earth that surrounded them. His charm and wit shield him from accusations as he continues his life of crime, unbothered by the whispers that follow him. His eyes darted from one stand to the next, searching for the perfect score. A pile of plump tomatoes caught his eye, and he couldn't resist the urge to swipe a handful. The vendor was too busy haggling with a tourist to notice the theft. Makeley pocketed his prize, the weight of the fruit a comforting reminder of his success. He had been stealing from these very fields and farms since he was a child, and his reputation grew with each passing year. As he approached the library, a sense of pride swelled in his chest. It was the one place in town where he truly felt at home. The worn stone steps creaked under his feet as he climbed them, the heavy oak door swinging open to reveal the cool, quiet sanctuary within. The scent of old books and dusty pages washed over him like a wave of nostalgia. He had spent countless hours here, not just to escape the heat, but to learn the art of deception and the subtleties of the law. It was here that he had honed his skills, ensuring that he could always outsmart the townsfolk and the authorities.
Martha, a middle-aged woman with a stern gaze, observed Make-Lie from the corner of her eye as he perused the shelves. Make-Lie's theft escalates to the point where he steals tomatoes from a vendor unnoticed. She had seen him around town, heard the whispers of his exploits. His sanctuary, the library, is where he has learned to manipulate the law and elude accusations. Martha, a victim of his crimes, watches him with a plan brewing. Her own farm had suffered from his sticky fingers more times than she cared to admit. But today, she had a plan. Make-Lie pulled out a tattered law book, his fingers tracing over the lines of text, as if they were the very fabric of his survival. He had learned that words could be more powerful than any weapon, especially when you knew how to wield them. In the quiet of the library, surrounded by the silent judges of the written word, he felt untouchable. Martha approached him, her footsteps deliberate. "Make-Lie," she began, her voice firm, "I've had enough of your thievery." Make-Lie looked up, feigning innocence as he set the law book aside. His expression was curious, masking the cunning beneath. Martha took a stance, her expression sharp and unwavering. "You know what brings me here. You've stolen from everyone else. It's about time you took from me." Now, Make-Lie replied smoothly, his voice wrapped in reassurance. "Let's not make accusations we can't prove." Martha leaned in, her voice low. "But what if I could prove it, Make-Lie?" The room seemed to still, the air thickening with tension. Make-Lie's smile slipped, his heart racing. He knew he had to tread carefully. "I've been watching you," she continued. "I know your tricks, and I have a way to make sure you pay for what you've done." The room seemed to still, the air thickening with tension. Make-Lie's smile slipped, his heart racing. He knew he had to tread carefully. The knot in Make-Lie's stomach tightened with the weight of uncertainty. For years, he thrived on being one step ahead of those around him, a cunning trickster who effortlessly eluded consequence. But now, faced with Martha's unwavering resolve, doubt seeped in where confidence once reigned. It was a palpable fear, a realization that his days of evasion might be numbered. The library's grand clock chimed, marking the hour with soft echoes that rippled through the high-ceilinged room. With each ring, Make-Lie's heart echoed a beat of urgency. His eyes darted across the library, seeking escape routes, potential allies, anything that could offer reprieve from this dire confrontation. Yet, oblivious patrons stayed cocooned in their literary worlds, leaving him isolated amid the tension. Martha reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "I found this in my barn," she said, slapping it onto the table. "Your signature move." Make-Lie's heart sank as he recognized his own handwriting, detailing a plan to steal a prized cow from a neighboring farm. He had been careless. Martha had outsmarted him. "I'll take this to the magistrate," she said, her voice cold and determined. "You've stolen enough from this town. It's time for you to face the consequences." In a desperate bid to reclaim the evidence Martha held, Make-Lie lunged forward, the urgency of his actions knocking over a nearby stack of books. The librarian's sharp glare pierced the silence that had once defined this peaceful sanctuary. Yet, it was the fury in Martha's eyes that commanded the room, unyielding in her resolve. Grunts and tearing pages filled the air as the pair grappled over the incriminating document. Despite Make-Lie's physical advantage, Martha's determination fueled her strength. Just as Make-Lie was poised to seize the paper, the door flung open. A burly figure, the town sheriff, stormed into the room. His commanding presence halted the fray as his voice echoed through the library. "What's going on here?" he demanded, eyes now fixed on Martha and Make-Lie. The sheriff's booming voice echoed through the library, asking about the commotion between the two. Martha, struggling to catch her breath, mustered enough energy to point directly at Make-Lie, declaring his numerous thefts to everyone present. Her words hung heavy in the air, punctuating the library's subdued ambiance. Cornered and aware of having underestimated Martha's resolve, Make-Lie surrendered to his fate, allowing the signature paper to drift to the floor with a sigh of defeat. With the decisive click of handcuffs, the sheriff moved to indicate Make-Lie's arrest, the cold metal closing around his wrists, marking the tangible weight of his accumulated misdeeds. The world he had so skillfully manipulated was crumbling, and he was about to face the justice he had evaded for so long. The townsfolk gathered outside the library, whispering as the sheriff led Make-Lie through the crowd. Some looked on with pity, others with satisfaction. His legendary status as the sly trickster had come to an end. In the courtroom, the air was thick with anticipation. The townsfolk had come to see justice served, their faces a mix of anger and hope. Martha stood tall, clutching the paper in her hand like a sword. Make-Lie, dressed in a threadbare suit, his once confident swagger gone, faced the judge with a heavy heart. And in this charged atmosphere, the judge sat looming behind the bench, evaluating the evidence before him. The courtroom was a cauldron of emotions, each spectator lending power to the moment, with whispered exchanges and judgmental gazes. As the moment of judgment approached, the courtroom hushed to nothing but the distant ticking of the clock, each heart awaiting its sentence. Make-Lie's fate was sealed in that moment. The game he played had led him here, to finally face the scales of justice, weighed by hands both impartial and moved by empathy. The trial was swift and unforgiving. The evidence was undeniable, and Make-Lie's eloquent defense fell on deaf ears. Martha's victory was bittersweet. As she watched Make-Lie being led away in chains, Martha felt a pang of regret. She had brought down the thief, but had she gone too far? Had she turned a petty criminal into a hardened one? The story of Make-Lie's fall from grace spread through the island like wildfire. Some felt vindicated, while others mourned the loss of a clever rogue. But for Make-Lie, the walls of the prison cell closed in, and he realized that no amount of stolen mangoes or sweet talk could ever compare to the taste of freedom. Years passed, the tropical sun rising and setting over the prison walls, casting long shadows across the damp, cramped space Make-Lie called home. The once confident trickster had become a man worn by labor and regret, his body leaner and harder from the toil of his sentence. His mind, however, remained sharp, turning over every detail of his past, searching for a way to outsmart fate. One day, a young lawyer named Evelyn arrived on the island, seeking to make a name for herself by helping those wrongfully accused. She heard of Makelai's story and was intrigued by the tales of his eloquence and wit. Upon meeting him, she saw a spark in his eyes that had not been extinguished by his incarceration. He told her of Martha's scheme, and she knew that there was more to the story than met the eye. Evelyn took up Makelai's case with a passion fueled by her own desire for justice. She combed through old records and interviewed the townsfolk, piecing together a new narrative. The truth began to emerge, and the townsfolk's memory of Martha's determination grew murky. Had she fabricated the evidence? Had Makelai truly been set up? The day of the appeal had finally arrived, with the courtroom buzzing with anticipation. Makelai sat in the dock, clean-shaven yet wary, his eyes reflecting a mix of hope and apprehension. Evelyn presented her findings with the precision of a seasoned attorney, her words slicing through the air with the impact of a sharp blade. As Evelyn delivered her findings, the townsfolk watched, their whispers growing softer, doubt creeping into their hearts as the weight of the truth began to unfold. Martha's own son took the stand, his voice trembling as he revealed the darker side of his mother. She had pressured him to plant the incriminating paper in her barn, aiming to rid the town of the thief she despised. The revelation shook the very foundation of Martha's credibility, leaving the townsfolk in shocked silence as the truth unraveled before them. The judge listened intently, his expression unreadable. The townsfolk held their breath as he considered the evidence before him. Then, in a moment that seemed to stretch for an eternity, he spoke. "On the basis of new evidence presented, I hereby overturn Makelai's conviction for theft and order his immediate release." The courtroom erupted into a cacophony of cheers and gasps. Makelai felt the iron grip of the handcuffs loosen, and as they fell away, so too did the weight of his guilt. He looked at Evelyn, her eyes shining with triumph, and knew that he had been given a second chance. But as he stepped into the bright Caribbean sun, blinking away the tears of joy, Makelai understood that he could never truly escape his past. The town that had once celebrated his cunning now regarded him with suspicion, and the scars of his incarceration ran deep. His eyes searched the crowd for Martha, but she was nowhere to be seen. Makelai vowed to use his newfound freedom wisely, to become a man who no longer lived in the shadows of deceit. Yet, as he walked away from the courthouse, the whispers of his old life followed him like a ghost. The wind carried the scent of the mango trees, and the market's distant calls beckoned. The temptation to return to his old ways was stronger than ever. The story of Makelai had taken a dramatic turn, but it was far from over. The question remained, could a man so skilled in the art of deception truly change his ways? Or would the allure of the easy score forever haunt his steps? Only time would tell as he ventured back into the world that had once been his playground, seeking redemption in the eyes of the people he had once duped. Makelai returned to the library, a place that now held a bittersweet significance for him. The books that had been his companions during his youth had also been the tools of his downfall. But it was here that he had found solace, and it was here that he would begin his transformation. With a newfound resolve, he pored over the very laws he had once manipulated, now seeking to understand them not to evade justice, but to uphold it. Martha watched from a distance as Makelai's life took a new direction. Her own reputation had been tarnished by the revelation of her deceit, and she knew that she could never regain the respect she had once held. Evelyn, the young lawyer who had championed Makelai's cause, had become a beacon of hope and justice in the town. She had proven that even the most cunning could be outwitted by truth and determination. As she watched Makelai from afar, she wondered if he truly meant to change. but she had faith in his potential, and she hoped that he would make good on his promise. One day, as Makelai walked through the market, a young girl approached him, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and admiration. "Are you the Makelai who used to steal from everyone?" she whispered. Makelai paused, his heart heavy. He knelt down, looking into her innocent eyes. "Yes, I am," he said, his voice gentle. "But I am also the Makelai who learned that stealing does not make you strong. It only makes you a prisoner, even if the bars are made of gold." The girl looked puzzled, but Makelai could see the beginnings of understanding. He took a deep breath and stood, looking out over the bustling market. The smells of spices and frying food, the laughter and shouting of the vendors, it all felt so familiar, yet so foreign. He knew he had a long road ahead, but he was determined to walk it with honor. Martha watched from the shadows as Makelai spoke to the girl, her heart heavy with regret. She had hoped to bring him down, to make him pay for his crimes, but instead she had only created a monster. A plan began to form in her mind, a way to atone for her own mistakes and perhaps, just perhaps, to save the man she had once brought low. The tension between Makelai and Martha remained palpable, a silent dance of accusation and regret. Over the days, weeks, and months, the townsfolk's perception of Makelai began to shift, reflecting the light of his new path. As Makelai frequented the library, the whispers of tarnished past gave way to whispers of potential redemption. His quiet demeanor and presence slowly won over the hearts that once vilified him. Meanwhile, Martha remained a silent observer, conflicted by her past actions and the growing change in Makelai. As Martha watched from the sidelines, she knew she could no longer remain passive. She approached Makelai as he left the library, burdened by the weight of her decision. Her voice trembled with emotion as she confronted him, the unease evident in her stance. "I have something to tell you." Martha's voice shook. "I need your help." The bond between them began to reforge, fragile yet undeniable. Martha's heart weighed heavily with regret. Her son, lost in a cycle of theft and deceit, mirrored Makelai's past and stared into the abyss of a darker future. She stood at the precipice of decision, fearing the consequences of inaction, yet yearning for redemption through a man she once saw as a nemesis. Approaching Makelai felt like surrendering to vulnerability. Yet it was the hope for her son's salvation that propelled her forward, pushing her to admit that guidance could only come from someone who had tread the same path. "Makelai," Martha began, her voice quivering with the weight of desperation, "I need your help." In that moment, a fragile bond began to reforge, its existence undeniable yet precarious. Confronted by unexpected sincerity, Makelai found surprise flicker across his features. Could he become the mentor Martha hoped for? Uncertainty lingered, yet the potential for redemption shone brightly in this unexpected alliance. Makelai's heart softened. He knew the pain of a lost child and the desperation that could drive a mother to seek help from the unlikeliest of sources. "I'll do what I can," he said. Together, Makelai and Martha embarked on a journey of redemption. Through her son, Makelai found a way to right his own wrongs, to pass on the lessons he had learned in the harshest of schools. And through Makelai, Martha discovered that it was never too late to seek forgiveness and help mend the wounds she had inflicted on others. As they invested time and effort in guiding the boy, Makelai and Martha's partnership solidified. Together, they worked diligently, determined to lead Martha's son away from a life of crime and onto a path of redemption. In the bustling market, amidst a sea of colorful stalls and lively exchanges, these moments became transformative. Makelai's lessons in honesty and hard work planted seeds of change within the young boy, offering new prospects in place of his former ways.
Through their journey of redemption, Makelai and Martha emerged as the town's unexpected champions, a duo whose shared past of deceit became a foundation for a profound mission of salvation.
Martha's son, once a lost soul with a chip on his shoulder, began to blossom under Make-Lie's mentorship. The old thief taught him the value of hard work and honesty, sharing his own tales of regret as cautionary whispers in the night. After years of deception, Make-Lie opened a humble shop in the vibrant market. His prices were fair, and his smile was genuine. The people he once fooled began to trust him again, their suspicion morphing into respect. In this bustling market, Make-Lie's shop became more than just a place to buy fruits. It was a gathering place, a sanctuary where secrets could be whispered and burdens be lifted, amid the aroma of fresh produce. Martha, emboldened by a newfound humility, found redemption within these walls. Together with Make-Lie, they worked as one, donating portions of their earnings to the families torn apart by theft and deceit. Their gracious acts began to heal the scars of past transgressions, paving the way for a future built not on the remains of theft, but on the strength of sincerity and unity. Slowly, skepticism faded into admiration as the townspeople gathered, not just for the fruits, but for the companionship offered by these unlikely reformers. The whispers of the past were replaced by nods of approval, and the wounds began to heal. Their efforts did not go unnoticed. The whispers of their good deeds grew louder than the whispers of their past, and the townspeople started to refer to them as the reformers. One day, a letter arrived at the shop. It was from the magistrate, informing Make-Lie that he had been granted a full pardon for his crimes. The town erupted in celebration. That night, under the warm embrace of the Caribbean stars, Make-Lie and Martha sat on the steps of the library, surrounded by their newfound family of friends and supporters. Martha looked at Make-Lie, her eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Make-Lie took her hand in his, saying, "We did it together. We both had our roles to play in this tragic play, but we chose to rewrite our ending." Their friendship, forged in the fires of adversity, had become an unbreakable bond. They had taken their darkest moments and spun them into a tapestry of hope and redemption. The town had its trickster no more, but in his stead they had gained two guardians of the law, two souls determined to right the wrongs of the past. Together, they righted the wrongs of the past and formed an unbreakable bond, transforming the narrative of the town. Determined to become guardians of the law, they found hope and redemption in their friendship and efforts. As the moon cast its silver glow over the island, the two of them sat in quiet contemplation, their hearts filled with a peace that neither had known in a long time. The story of Make-Lie and Martha became a legend, a tale told to remind the people of the power of forgiveness and the possibility of change. And as they watched their town flourish, free from the shackles of their old feud, they knew that they had found something more valuable than any stolen mango. They had found redemption and a new purpose that transcended their former rivalry. Their pasts were a shadow that lingered, but it was a shadow they faced together, hand in hand. And in that moment, as the pages of their story turned to a new chapter, they realized that their greatest theft had been the joy they had stolen from themselves. Now, as they gave back to the community they had once wronged, they found that joy returning to them tenfold.
As the roosters began their dawn chorus, Make-Lie opened his shop, ready to face whatever the day had in store. The market was different now, not just for him, but for everyone. It was a place of hope and new beginnings, a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome. Martha walked to the fields, her son by her side, ready to start the day's work. She looked back at the town, a smile playing on her lips. Make-Lie had taught her that life was not about the battles won or lost, but the bridges built and the hearts mended. And as they worked the soil together, planting seeds of a new future, she knew that she had found a peace that could never be stolen away. The townsfolk watched them, their whispers turning to nods of approval. The transformation of their once infamous trickster had been nothing short of a miracle, and Martha had played a crucial part in it. Her son had found a mentor, a man who knew the value of hard work and the consequences of a life of deceit. and she had found a partner, someone who understood her pain and her desire to make amends. One sun-drenched afternoon, as the mango trees whispered their secrets to the breeze, Make-Lie took Martha's hand, his eyes filled with a love that had grown from the ashes of their shared past. "Marry me," he said simply. Martha looked into his eyes, those eyes that had once held only cunning and mischief, now filled with sincerity and hope. The proposal was as unexpected as their friendship, but it felt as natural as the rhythm of the waves against the shore. She nodded, and their union was celebrated by the entire town, a testament to the power of redemption. Their wedding was a humble affair, held in the very library that had been the setting of their first confrontation. The aisle was lined with books, silent witnesses to their transformation. The judge who had once sentenced Make-Lie to hard labor now pronounced them man and wife, his voice filled with emotion. The townsfolk clapped and cheered, their hearts swelling with hope and the promise of a new chapter in the story of the reformed thief and the woman who had brought him to justice. Together, Make-Lie and Martha turned their lives around, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They became the town's advocates, using their sharp minds to help those in need of legal advice. Their love story became a beacon in the community, a reminder that even the most broken souls could find solace in each other. And as they grew old, their hands wrinkled by the sun and their hearts rich with love, they looked back on the winding path that had led them to each other, knowing that their greatest theft had been the love they had almost let slip away. In the twilight of their lives, Make-Lie and Martha sat in the rocking chairs on the porch of their little cottage, watching the sun set over the Caribbean. The town had long ago forgotten their feud, their names now synonymous with justice and compassion. Their love had not just survived the storm, it had thrived in its aftermath, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the beauty of a second chance. Their story was one of redemption and rebirth, a tale that echoed through the generations. The children of the island grew up hearing whispers of the great Make-Lie and the woman who had tamed him, and they learned that no one was ever truly beyond the reach of goodness, that the most important thing was not the hand you were dealt but how you chose to play it. The end of the day brought a gentle peace to their hearts, a peace that had been hard-earned and fiercely guarded. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Make-Lie took Martha's hand, and together they watched the world they had rebuilt continue to turn, their love a quiet but powerful force that had changed the course of so many lives. And in that moment, as the night wrapped around them like a warm blanket, they knew that their legacy was not in the stolen mangoes of their past, but in the hearts they had touched and the lives they had changed. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Make-Lie took Martha's hand, and together they watched the world they had rebuilt continue to turn, their love a quiet but powerful force that had changed the course of so many lives. Martha's son grew into a young man, his eyes reflecting the intelligence and determination of both his mother and Make-Lie. Under their guidance, he had found his calling in the law, a path that allowed him to right the wrongs of his mother's past and the injustices he had seen in the town. His sharp mind and eloquent speech became his weapons, disarming adversaries in the courtroom with the same charm Make-Lie had once used to outwit them. Years passed, and the boy grew into a man, tall and proud, his footsteps echoing the footsteps of his parents' journey. He studied hard, his nose buried in books that had once been his father's refuge and his mother's torment. His name was no longer associated with scandal, but with justice. The townsfolk watched him with a mix of admiration and curiosity, wondering if he would follow in Make-Lie's infamous footsteps or Martha's vengeful ones. But the young man, now a successful lawyer, had forged his own path. He had taken the lessons of his parents' past and woven them into a future of integrity and honor. His cases were legendary not for their cunning, but for their fairness and compassion. The son of a thief and a deceiver had become the town's beacon of hope, the one they turned to when justice seemed out of reach. Martha and Make-Lie looked upon their son with a mix of pride and awe, knowing that they had raised him not just to survive, but to thrive. His success was their redemption, a testament that the sins of the parents could be overcome by the virtues of the child. Their hearts swelled with pride as they envisioned a future where their son would carry on their story, replacing whispers of theft with echoes of justice and compassion, an unimaginable future born from their transformation. Their days were now filled with the quiet contentment of lives well lived. Having faced their demons, they emerged stronger and wiser. The market sang not with accusations, but with joy. Their son's success was not solely his, it reflected their own growth. In his eyes, they saw a future free from the shackles of their past, speaking their names with pride, not suspicion. A journey fraught with pain had led them to love that grew stronger in adversity's wake. Watching the stars dance above, they knew they had reclaimed something more precious than any material wealth, their community's hearts. Inspired by their son's dedication to the law and the town's acceptance of their newfound integrity, Make Lie and Martha decided to give back even more. They pooled their resources and opened a school, a beacon of knowledge and hope amidst the colorful stalls of the market. The classrooms were filled with the sounds of chalk on blackboards and the eager whispers of children learning the alphabet, a stark contrast to the hushed tones of deceit that had once been Make Lie's soundtrack. Martha's stern demeanor had softened into a gentle warmth as she counseled parents, sharing her own experiences and offering guidance in raising children to be honest and hardworking. The school grew, its reputation spreading like wildfire across the island. It became a sanctuary for those seeking refuge from the hard knocks of life, a place where the cycle of crime and retribution could be broken. The townsfolk watched in amazement as the two who had been the talk of the town for all the wrong reasons now became the epitome of all that was right. They saw in Make Lie and Martha a reflection of their own capacity for change, a reminder that no one was ever truly lost. The school's success grew, and soon it was not just a place of learning, but a community center, offering free counseling to those in need. Their love story had become a beacon of inspiration, drawing people from across the island to seek their wisdom and guidance. Their son, now a respected member of the community, took over the school's management, continuing his parents' mission of enlightenment and redemption. The walls of the school held the stories of their transformation, each brick a testament to the power of forgiveness and the strength of the human spirit. Make Lie and Martha, their eyes gleaming with the satisfaction of a life well lived, knew that their greatest theft had not been the material goods of their youth, but the time they had almost lost to anger and bitterness. As they watched their students grow into responsible adults, they gave thanks for the chance to rewrite their story, to steal back the joy they had once cast aside. Their legacy grew with each graduation, each new family that sought their counsel, and each seed of knowledge they planted in the fertile minds of their pupils. The school became a bastion of hope, a reminder that even the darkest nights could give way to the most beautiful dawns. And as they sat on the porch of their cottage, their hearts swelling with pride, they knew that the whispers of their past had been drowned out by the applause of their present, the applause of a town that had come to understand that redemption was not just a possibility, but a promise that echoed in every heart that had been touched by their love.
Make Lie had once been the island's most infamous thief, but now he was its most revered teacher. His hands, once skilled in the art of theft, now held chalk and shaped the destinies of his students. Martha, once driven by anger and vengeance, had become the town's moral compass, her fiery spirit now tempered by the love she had found in Make Lie and the joy she had found in giving back. Their lives had been a dance of deceit, a waltz with destiny that had led them down a path of pain. But in each other's arms, they had found the strength to break the rhythm, to compose a new melody of hope and healing. It was a dance that continued long after the music had stopped, a dance that played out in the hearts and lives of those they had touched. Their son, now a man with a family of his own, continued their legacy. The school had grown into a college, its walls lined with the faces of those who had once been lost but had found their way thanks to Make Lie and Martha. The whispers of their past had turned into the cheers of a town that had come to know them not as adversaries, but as champions of change. The story of Make Lie and Martha could have ended with the closing of the courtroom doors, but instead, it had blossomed into a tale of transformation and hope. It was a story of stolen moments turned into a lifetime of purpose. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Thank you.